Hey, insight number 3, still in section 109, so the first two are a bit long. I'm going to keep these a little shorter, hopefully. So we're going to go straight to verse 22, although I kind of really love just this whole section, really. There's just so much. I really like 19, actually. I'll just mention that briefly. It just said, and that all their salutations may be in the name of the Lord with holy hands uplifted to the Most High. It's like, in all your greetings to everyone. Are they uplifting and strengthening? Are they in the name of Christ? Like, are they that kind of greeting? I don't know. I just love that. But helps me be, I think, more Christ-like and better at charity and acceptance of others. I think that, for me, it does. Anyway, verse 22. Really good verse. Says, "And we ask thee, Holy Father, that thy servants may go forth from this house, armed with thy power, and that thy name may be upon them, and thy glory be round about them, and thine angels have charge over them." So that's talking about after we leave the temple, after we've been serving in the temple. Now, some years ago, and I mean some years ago, like 10 years ago-ish, our the temple matron at the time came and spoke and taught our Relief Society lesson in my ward. Which, considering the temple's just down the road, as I said, is kind of something that happens. You know, it's a privilege that we get to have, but we hadn't had her before come and teach. And one of the things she started off with was asking us the question, when you sisters leave the temple, who feels that they are more, like, powerful? Who feels the power of the Lord when they leave the temple? I can't remember exact words, she said something like that. And I'm like, sitting at the front of the class, so I couldn't see everyone behind me, and I'm like, you know, because I do, she asked for hands up, and it was, I sort of got that vibe, you know, that vibe when something's like off, and I'm like, what, should I not feel that? I feel that, and I just sort of looked behind me, no one else had their hand up, I was the only one that put my hand up, and I'm like, oh, are you guys just shy? And they didn't feel that. And then she went on to talk about how you can feel that and use the scripture and some other scriptures and gave a really good lesson, which I sort of, quite honestly, like I just got into the spiral of thinking, why was I the only one that felt that? And I know that there's other sisters in the ward that I'm friends with that feel that. They just didn't happen to be in that class at that time. But it did concern me that here's 30-odd sisters that didn't feel that. I'm like, why is that? And the only conclusion I could actually come to was that for me, going to the temple is not the easiest of experiences because of my PTSD and the anxiety I get through that around being in enclosed spaces, about being in groups of people that I don't know, and even just the quiet that's in the temple is just something I'm not comfortable with. And I've improved on that, but at the time it just, you know. So for me, going to the temple and doing service in the temple takes a lot of mental strength. So it's something I really prepare for. And it's something I come out of the temple feeling the power of the temple because I took all that time to prepare to go. I didn't just go to tick a box off to say, yep, been to the temple this week, done my temple work, I'm good, you know. No, for me, it's a whole lot more to go there. And I'm like, well, maybe that's why I feel it when I leave. When I leave the temple, I feel that. I feel that I'm being watched over by angels. I feel heaven closer to me. Was it the preparation I put in? And is it the way that I leave feeling emotionally drained because it took all that effort to be there? And in that emotionally drained state, I lean on the Lord. And maybe that's why I feel it more too. I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you feel that? Do you leave the temple feeling armed with power? Because I do. I feel armed with power even being on temple grounds. I feel more armed with power. And I don't know why I feel that and others do not. I don't understand it. And I'm not trying to judge on anyone or be rude or anything. But I'm trying to understand it so that I can help others feel that because it's an amazing feeling. So please share your thoughts with me, please. I'd love to hear that. But when we have been in the temple, then leave, just pause. Pause on that threshold as you're leaving. Whether you've got a small reception, big reception, or you pause when you get back to your car. Take a moment when you pause when you leave the temple, to have that moment of just meditative thought. That could be 30 seconds to a minute. It doesn't need to be like an hour. Just have that little moment of just, let's just soak this in and feel it. Like, let's just pause for a minute while we're still on temple grounds and just be like, and soak that power and take that with us into the world. Take that power and that goodness and that amazingness from being in the house of the Lord. Take that into the world with us as like just this, I don't know, protective, invisible shield. Whatever you want to call it. Soak it in. Christ's protection and power. Just soak it in. It's a promised blessing. You need to let it in. It's there, but you need to let it in. And who doesn't want the protection of angels? I certainly would love the protection of angels. I'm missing being able to visit our temple grounds and go to the temple, because like I'm pretty sure I still have the protection of angels, but I'm not feeling it so much. And I've been praying, help me feel that, because I don't feel it so much. So I'm really missing that. So the next time you attend the temple, pray to feel this and soak it in. Take that moment. Just take that moment. President Nelson said, many are receiving power of God in their lives as they worship and serve in the temple. And absolutely true. Yeah. And it doesn't matter where your temple is. It could be in the middle of a crowded city or out in the beautiful countryside like mine is. It could have rolling temple grounds, or it could have no. Like, it could literally just have the front porch like the Hong Kong temple does in the middle of the city. Doesn't matter. Just pause, soak it in, hug the building. When I first saw Salt Lake Temple coming up 3 years ago now, I literally cried and hugged the building, because it was so, I felt it, and it's just awesome being on temple grounds like that, and to see the temple going through different like repairs. Ours did, Salt Lake is right now. It hurt like it was hurting a loved one, because to me it's more than just a building, and that's what it was to the Kirtland Saints that were there too. It was more than just a building. So think about that in your life and the temple that you've been to and how you felt when you were there, and just next time you go, pause and soak that in as you leave. Alright, I'll see you soon for insight number 4.